In the quiet mountain village of Serenity Peak, there lived an old man named Elias. He had lost his sight in his youth, but in its place, he had gained something extraordinary. His hearing was so sharp he could distinguish the rustle of a single leaf from 100 others, and his sense of touch could read the story of a stone just by holding it. The villagers respected him, but some also pitied him, thinking his world was one of perpetual darkness. Little did they know, Elias saw more than they ever could. One summer, the days grew unnaturally hot. The river, which was the village's lifeblood, began to shrink, and the crops started to wither under the relentless sun. The village elder, a wise but worried man, consulted ancient texts, but found no answers. The people prayed, but the sky remained stubbornly clear and blue. A sense of unease settled over Serenity Peak like a heavy blanket. Every morning, Elias would walk to the edge of the village with his sturdy wooden staff, tapping his way along the familiar dirt path. He would sit on a large, smooth boulder and just listen. He listened to the birds, whose songs seemed more frantic than usual. He listened to the wind, which carried a strange, faint hum it never had before, and he listened to the earth beneath him. One day, while sitting on his boulder, he felt it, a tremor. It was so faint that anyone else would have dismissed it as a passing cart or their own imagination. But to Elias, it was a clear signal. He pressed his ear to the ground. The hum he'd heard on the wind was louder here, a deep, guttural groan coming from the heart of the mountain that loomed over their village. He felt a rhythmic vibration, a pulse that was growing stronger each day. Elias rushed back to the village, his staff tapping urgently. He found the elder and a group of villagers gathered in the square, their faces etched with worrying. "The mountain," Elias exclaimed, his voice filled with a gravity that made everyone fall silent. "The mountain is waking up. It's not the heat we should fear, but the ground beneath our feet. I feel a deep trembling, a warning from the earth itself. We must leave now." The villagers looked at each other, confused. A blind man telling them to abandon their homes based on a feeling? Some scoffed. "Elias, your senses are playing tricks on you," one said. "It's just the heat. The mountain has stood for 1,000 years. The elder, however, looked at Elias's earnest face and saw not madness, but conviction. He remembered the countless times Elias's uncanny senses had proven true. "What do you suggest, Elias?" the elder asked, his voice steady. "We must go to the high meadows across the valley," Elias replied, pointing with his staff. "The ground there is stable. We must take what we can carry and go immediately." There is no time to waste. A heated debate erupted. Many refused to believe him, unwilling to leave their homes based on a blind man's prophecy. But the elder made a decision. "I trust Elias," he announced. "His eyes may be closed, but his mind sees what we cannot. Those who wish to be safe, follow me." Hesitantly, about half of the village packed their essentials and followed the elder and Elias out of the village and up toward the distant meadows. The journey was difficult, and many grumbled, casting doubtful glances back at their peaceful-looking homes. They reached the high meadows just as dusk began to fall. Exhausted, they set up a makeshift camp. As night deepened, a sudden, violent roar tore through the silence. The ground shook with such force that it threw them off their feet. They looked back towards their village in horror. In the moonlight, they saw the side of Serenity Peak crumble. A massive landslide, a river of rock and earth, cascaded down, completely burying the village where they had stood just hours before. A stunned silence fell over the survivors, followed by sobs of shock and gratitude. They stared at the space where their homes once were, then turned to look at Elias, who stood calmly, his face turned toward the destroyed village, listening to the mountain's dying rumbles. He hadn't needed eyes to see the coming danger. He had listened to the world's quiet warnings. From that day on, no one in the new village they built ever pitied the blind man. They revered him, the man who saw not with his eyes, but with his soul, and saved them all. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more content like this. See you in the next one.